Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. And of course, I'm your host, John June, and we got a solo pod this night. It'll actually be a solo pod the rest of this week as my man Greg is on vacation. That's right. I was on vacation last week. He's on vacation this week. So, but don't worry. We'll have two refreshed, a refreshed Greg as well as a refreshed John. So, we'll be back with that heat for week 7 as the dynamic duo. But for now, you got your boy, and like I've said before, built for this. So without further ado, let's get into it. It's Thursday Night Football preview. Obviously, breaking down Thursday Night Football, but we've got to give out the streams of the week. Got to break down the Thursday Night Football game, and probably even talk about some snip candidates. So snip. Let's see who's going to get that one today, but let's start out with the streams of the week. You already know it's going to be a short one. There's no Greg. It's Thursday Night Football. No Greg would make it short. No Thursday Night Football would make it short, or just being Thursday Night Football would make it short. The fact that you got those two together in one episode is going to make this a short one. So, let's jump right into it. Streams of the week. Starting off with my quarterback stream of the week is going to be Taylor Heinicke. And you know what? Honestly, he could be quarterback start of the week worthy. That'll be determined as we get closer to Sunday. But Taylor Heinicke, 21% rostered in Yahoo leagues, goes up against the Kansas City Chiefs, who have allowed the quarterback 2, the quarterback 7, and the quarterback 4 over the last 4 weeks. This Washington defense on the other side has allowed the quarterback 3, the quarterback 1, and back-to-back quarterback 5 performances. So Mahomes will be slinging it on his side of the ball against a weak defense in Washington, one that we know we've targeted, which obviously means Taylor Heinicke is going to have to play some catch-up there, going to have to try to keep pace. This makes for the perfect game script here for Heinicke to finish as a top 10 quarterback this week. Moving on to the tight end position. Dan Arnold, 7% rostered. I promise you, unless you play in tight end premium or a 2 tight end league, Dan Arnold is most likely available in your league. 7% rostered in Yahoo leagues, going up against the Miami Dolphins. Miami has allowed the 11th most PPR points to the 2 tight ends over the last 3 weeks. Trevor Lawrence has targeted his tight ends this season 21% of the time. That's the 12th highest total in the league. And Dan Arnold had a team-leading 8 targets last week in just his second game with the Jags after coming over via trade, which, if you remember, that trade happened on like a Monday or Tuesday. They played in Thursday Night Football, and he was targeted 2 times in that game. So goes around his second game, is targeted 8 times. He should continue to be an integral part of this offense here. And so Dan Arnold, somebody I'm absolutely interested in. Moving on to the defensive stream of the week, and going back to this game in Florida, this game in Jacksonville, but going with the Miami Dolphins defense, 27% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Actually just had to pick them up in our League of Extraordinary People, because if y'all didn't know, our league of record here on the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, these people are savages, absolute savages. There's no defenses available. So here I was picking up the Miami Dolphins defense. Again, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 31st in turnovers. Turnovers are hard to predict. They're tough to come by, but Jacksonville's giving them up in bunches. Miami's favored here by 3.5. I think this is going to be a good bounce back game for a Miami defense that we came into the season believing to be one of the better units in the league. So, without further ado, let's jump into Thursday Night Football. And we've got, and it's going to be an interesting game. I'm pretty sure of it. Thursday night, 8:20 p.m. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are traveling to Lincoln Financial Field to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bucs are 4-1. The Eagles are 2-3. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 7-point favorites here in a 52-point in a game that has a 52-point total. In terms of injuries here, and the weather, of course, the weather is going to be okay. It's actually some pretty nice weather, so that'll be good for Thursday Night Football. In terms of the injuries, Lane Johnson continues to be out with a personal issue, so don't exactly know what the situation is there. Obviously, hope that everything is okay with him and his family, and that it's nothing too serious. But the fact that he's missed, I think, 3 games now with this personal issue, I think it's definitely something that want to probably keep Lane Johnson and his family in your respective prayers. But Dallas Goedert, he's out with COVID, tested positive, so that'll be a situation to definitely monitor there. I mean, not for this week. He's definitely not going to play this week. With it being Wednesday night right now as we record this, and the Thursday night game being a day away, he tested positive. I don't think that he can play. Levante David for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's out with an ankle injury, so that's a blow there to a stout Tampa Bay rush, front seven and rush defense. Gronk, he's out with that rib injury, so continue to hold tight if you are a Gronk manager. In terms of the defensive side of the ball, Antoine Woodfield, the starting safety for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the main contributors left in their secondary. He is out of this game, so the Tampa Bay Bucs will miss him as he suffered a concussion there. So, and then Carlton Davis, he was put on IR last week, so they're really banged up in the secondary here. So, I actually took the under here. Thursday Night Football, we have seen things get weird, but I am going to take Philadelphia to cover 7 points. I think 7 points is in the wheelhouse of where Philadelphia can cover. And then Tampa Bay, I will take them to win this game. This game is definitely intriguing for me. We obviously know the Philadelphia Eagles are capable of scoring points, especially when Hurts has to play some hero ball there. So, I think he's, again, a top 6 quarterback here. He's been the quarterback 6 on this season. He's getting it done with 10 total touchdowns through 6 games. I think that this is definitely one of those spots, right? We saw it in Kansas City game. I know I reference it all the time, but the Arizona game last year, when we see Jalen Hurts have to play some hero ball, have to play catch up, good things happen from a fantasy perspective. So definitely into that. I think in terms of the running backs, right? Like, we know no one runs the ball against Tampa Bay. Teams choose not to run the ball against Tampa Bay. Obviously, we know about their stout run defense, but their pass defense is so bad right now that why would you even want to run the ball when you could just, air it all over this team? So in that instance, I feel like I don't want to play Miles Sanders. I will have a tough time playing Miles Sanders. He's more of like an RB4, RB3 flex conversation. But if you have Kenneth Gainwell and Miles Sanders, which I know some people might have because maybe you were trying to get that insurance policy with Kenneth Gainwell, I have that in a league, in a dynasty league actually. Kind of just it happened. It's not something I forced, but it just kind of happened, and so, Kenneth Gainwell is the guy that I'm going with in terms of a running back in his backfield. I think this game script just kind of fits him perfectly. It's a PPR league. Especially if you play in a PPR league or even half PPR, right? This game, Philadelphia is expected to be trailing. they will probably, like I mentioned, throw the ball more often than not because you can't run against Tampa Bay, and Kenneth Gainwell is the pass catching back. So I think that fits him better in this game script here. In terms of the tight end position, Zach Ertz, he's in play as a tight end one option without Goddard in the lineup. Devontae Smith, though, is definitely the guy you want to play on the Eagles side if you aren't playing Jalen Hurts, right? Like, not saying that you have to choose between those two, but Devontae Smith, he's gonna have this Tampa Bay secondary. They've been getting roasted, and with all the injuries, I expect the Slim Reaper to continue cooking, as Ray GQ dubbed Devontae Smith here. So Ray Garvin, of course. But this Tampa Bay secondary, again, roasted. So I could get talked into Jalen Reagor, but I would rather play Quez Watkins as the auxiliary play here against a weak secondary in a game where, again, Philadelphia will have to throw the ball. They, already know they're probably not going to run it. So deep pass attempts down the field. That's where Quez Watkins excels. This guy is averaging a 20 yards per reception right now, but he has a 76% catch rate, right? Like, so this dude is getting the ball deep down the field, but he's got this high catch rate. The A dot's only 10, so it's leaning that he's probably getting a mix of some bubble screen type plays, those jet sweeps, while also getting these deep attempts down the field, and he's averaging 20 yards per reception here. So I like Quez Watkins as a play here. I think he can definitely get it done, especially having the opportunity to score a touchdown when he's getting these deep passes down the field. For the Tampa Bay side, TB12, Tom Brady, top 3 option this week at the position. Philadelphia over the last 3 weeks is. I know they had a really good game against Sam Darnold last week, but overall, over the last 3 weeks, they haven't been all that great against quarterbacks, and so Tom Brady, he's been on fire. So there's no way you're benching that dude in almost most matchups these days, but definitely not this one. Again, top 3 option this week. In terms of the running back situation, and look, y'all know how much I was all over Ronald Jones last year. Even coming into the season, I was like, yo, it's got to be Ronald Jones. But Lenny, man, we got to talk about Lenny. This dude has been balling, man. He's been on one basically since the Super Bowl. He's their 3-down back. He catches the ball. He's the goal line back. He runs in short yardage. Obviously, we know that Ronald Jones has still been getting some time, right? So like he's still going to be involved in this offense in some way. But this is Leonard Fournette's backfield here, and so I was saying I wish I was on the show last week because I would have been talking about, hey, let's go out and buy Leonard Fournette. The game against Miami, I thought, was a prime spot. He would have been my start of the week. Finished just outside the top 12 there. But I think he's in a similar spot here against Philadelphia. So if you weren't able to buy him last week, I think you definitely could go out and buy him this week. I know they have a bye week coming up, but the schedule is nice. Plus, he plays in a good offense here. Leonard Fournette he's one of my favorite. I wouldn't even call it a buy low because he's playing well. So he's one of my favorite buys at the running back position. But I think the Leonard Fournette managers have smartened up, and they probably aren't going to want to let him go. But in terms of the wide receivers, AB definitely the Bucs wide receiver to play right now. He's going to be the most consistent week to week. So I just continue to start him up. I think he's a top 10 option. Between Evans and Godwin, obviously Mike Evans always has the touchdown upside. I'm going to go out on a limb, though, and call this one a Godwin game. Obviously you have, if you don't have, I hope you don't have 2 of these 3 guys because that would be painful. But if you have one of these guys, you're going to play all three. You're going to play that individual because they're attached to Tom Brady and this good offense, and it could literally be them any week. Now, with that being said, I am going to go out on a limb and call it a Godwin game. Cameron Brate, he's a desperation play at tight end. OJ Howard out-targeted him last week, but Cameron Brate still ran more routes in terms of based on his ran more routes based on his percentage of snaps. So, do with that information what you will, which guy you play, but I probably will go with Cameron Brate there if I had to choose one. And I think that's pretty much going to be it. Other than that, it's going to be a good game. I expect, like I said, Philadelphia to keep it competitive. Again, if this game wasn't on Thursday night, I probably would have picked Tampa Bay to cover, but weird stuff has been happening weird stuff always happens on Thursday nights. Plus Tom Brady, last week he put up last year was when he forgot what down it was, whatever. But anyway, weird stuff happens on Thursday night, to say the least. So hence why I'm picking Philadelphia to cover here. My bold prediction, drum roll, Chris Godwin goes for 100 and a tutty. That's the bold prediction. We'll see if it comes true. But yeah. With that being said, let's jump into some potential snip candidates, right? So, first one on the docket is Brandon Ayuk. And we have to, like I said this on the Monday show when we talked about the waivers. I'm not gonna say you have to keep him, right? Like, he was one of my favorites coming in the season. He was one of my favorite guys last year, right? I think, we can come up with a multitude of reasons as to why Brandon Ayuk has not returned the value that we thought that he would this year. The fact of the matter is, though, he's not helping our rosters. He doesn't help us win games. So at this point, I'm willing to cut bait, right? Like, one of the moves I've been making is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a guy that I've been snagging off waivers, picking up off free agency in the morning. And I'm dropping Brandon Ayuk for Amon-Ra St. Brown. So the logic there, you've got a guy who's involved in his offense. You could see the progression of the role there, right? Quintez Cephas just ends up on. He's probably going to end up being out for the season with the collarbone injury. So there's more opportunities there for targets. So with that being said, right, like, I'm going to go get the guy that's got 6-7 targets as opposed to the guy that's not seeing any targets and barely playing snaps, right? So you gotta have the opportunity to score fantasy points, right? And in order to have that opportunity to score fantasy points, you have to have an opportunity to score those points, right? Like, you have to be on the field, you have to be running routes, you have to be presenting yourself to the quarterback to get a target. And if you can't get on the field consistently, especially this week, he can't help you at all, right? So it's definitely one of those moves I've made. Plus, I'm not completely crazy. I know he's on bye. I know that I can also get him back if I really want him. So it's possible that I can get him back, right? Like, it's the game within the game. People probably aren't going to pick up Brandon Ayuk because he's on bye. Can't help them. He hasn't done anything. And so I will probably see what happens on my bench. If somebody underperforms or there's an injury or something, then yeah, I might just go back and pick up Brandon Ayuk. So we'll see. Allen Robinson. Let's talk about that one, because that one's a tough one, right? Because you want to play him every week. You believe that there's this standard, right, that's set for Allen Robinson, where he's going to be a 150 target receiver, and it just hasn't been the case. and he's not even the number one receiver on his team right now. Darnell Mooney leads this team in targets over the last 3 weeks, 28% roster or 28% target share. And what happened in the last 3 weeks? Oh, they changed the quarterback, right? So I know we had said it before, Greg and I, that if Andy Dalton's playing, we feel better about Allen Robinson. But with Justin Fields in, it seems like he has more of a connection with Darnell Mooney. The difference here is I'm not going to cut Allen Robinson. And if you're trading Allen Robinson, you're selling him super low. Excuse me, I'm just going to drink some water. But if you're selling Allen Robinson, you're selling him basically at his floor price. And honestly, it depends on your roster construction, but that would be bad business. But you don't want to. I say it's bad business because you could tell a story where Allen Robinson eventually turns it around, right? You can tell a story where Justin Fields plays better, or the offense makes a concerted effort. Matt Nagy and the staff make a concerted effort to get Allen Robinson more involved in the offense. Like, those things could totally happen. And if you look at Allen Robinson's schedule, it opens up really nicely in a way where he's got some really good matchups, and they're going to be in some situations where they're going to have to throw the football. They won't be able to do what they've been doing, right? Like, they play Green Bay this week. Like, you're going to have to score with Green Bay. Allen Robinson has historically had success against Green Bay, so you think that that's a matchup that he can do well in. Then you've got Tampa Bay, which obviously we talked about that game just now. I don't think their situation is going to change much come next week, and you won't be able to just go to this conservative run the ball game plan. And so I think that if you do want to sell Allen Robinson, that you would probably have to do it after these next 2 games, because he could have a nice 2-game stretch. He could even have a nice 4-game stretch here, potentially, with matchups coming up against San Fran and Pittsburgh. So definitely going to hold tight on Allen Robinson right now. I'm not going to sell him. I'm not going to cut him, obviously, but I definitely will hold him. I will start him this week against Green Bay. I'm going back and forth about it, whether it's him or a guy like Rondale Moore or Amon-Ra St. Brown. I can't believe those names are literally in this conversation when talking about Allen Robinson. But, he did, again, 5 targets last week. I think there's a world where he gets more involved here in this offense. Big Ben. And I'm going to talk about Big Ben from a Superflex perspective, because this dude, I play in a league where he got dropped, but he just put up a season high in fantasy points at 16. So he's definitely, there could be a case made that you're better off playing a flex, another position player outside of Big Ben. We've been talking about Big Ben all year, and ultimately, I think you could get away with moving on from Big Ben even in Superflex leagues, because, honestly, would you rather have Big Ben or would you rather have Geno Smith? And I know it sounds crazy that you're like, oh, hey, John, like why would you even bring that up? This sounds absurd. There's no way that I would start Geno Smith, but just hear me out. Like 12, 13.8, 13.2, 9.28, and 16 season high, right? And we've seen Big Ben with our eyes. Like, it has not been pretty. And so what there isn't there with Big Ben is the lack of upside. And it's not going to be there with Big Ben. Who it is there with is potentially Geno Smith. And Geno Smith, in basically a quarter of football, put up 9.5 fantasy points. And he's going to throw the ball down the field, and he's going to throw it to DK Metcalf and potentially Tyler Lockett. And so there is some upside there, especially like what if the Seahawks are bad and Geno Smith just has to throw the ball, right? Like this, the Steelers are trying to hide Big Ben, right? They're trying to be a manager, and even in games where they were bad, Big Ben is bad, and the just offense is unproductive, and he's not throwing the ball on the field. At least we know Geno Smith is going to throw it on the field. He's going to run with the football. There's things like that. So for me, Big Ben shouldn't even be on your roster. He shouldn't even be sniffing your roster in a one quarterback league. But in a two quarterback league, he will definitely be in a position where I would definitely look to snip him in place of another player. Justin Fields, right? That's a conversation I think that's worth having. What do you do there? I think in one quarterback leagues, I'm totally out. I'm sorry. I mean, look, I think that there's a possibility he can turn it around, right? Like the Tampa Bay game is the one I'm really looking at where, hey, you're gonna have to throw the football. Matt Nagy will not be able to come out with a conservative game plan. You'll have to throw this ball. So what are we going to see? And if we don't see anything there, then I find it hard to believe that we will see something anytime soon. And so one quarterback leagues again, like I said, I'm out. Two quarterback leagues, I am holding on, but it is hard. It is really hard because you are telling yourself these stories like, okay, well, Justin Fields can turn it around, or, what if Matt Nagy makes this offense better? But yeah, it's really hard. I think we're at the point again, 6.7. And that wasn't even a game he started, but 3.5, 3.92, 7.3, 8.8. I played Alex Collins played in a game against the Rams last week and got 9.2 PPR points, and I could have put him in a super flex spot over Justin Fields and been okay. Right. So these are things that we have to consider. And so for that reason, I will hold on to Justin Fields because of the astronomical upside that is there and that is associated with him. But I will not hold out hope. And if I can get potentially another quarterback in there in a super flex league, then I would potentially look to do that. Maybe you can sell someone on Justin Fields' upside. I doubt it, though, but someone who's desperate for a quarterback. Moving on to, let's see if we can get one more in here. Ryan Tannehill. I like this one, actually. I really do like this one. So he's somebody that has been getting dropped in leagues. I know a few of my leagues he was dropped. He has a matchup next week or this week against Buffalo, which isn't great. Buffalo's been very good against quarterbacks. They've allowed the fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position. But he's got a matchup the week after against Kansas City. So if you are streaming quarterbacks, you're looking for a quarterback to play next week or in week 7 potentially. I guess what I'm saying is I would hold Ryan Tannehill in one quarterback leagues. I probably will, because he plays on the Monday night game. So if he was dropped, you could pick him up ahead of that Monday night game and play him in week 7 against Kansas City, in what should be a great matchup. If you have him, you can hold him for that matchup again. If you're streaming, if you're in two quarterback leagues, I'm going to hold on to Ryan Tannehill though. I don't understand moving on from Ryan Tannehill in a two quarterback league. I know he hasn't been great, but he's been solid, right? 14.1, 14.5, 21.5, 18.8, and then almost 14 against Jacksonville. And so there's some clunkers in there, but what the upside is, and Julio Jones isn't back yet. So when Julio's back and AJ Brown's fully healthy, which who knows if he'll ever be fully healthy, But this offense starts clicking, and you know that he can provide something with his legs as well. Like, I'm going to be into, Ryan Tannehill. So that is something that I will definitely be considering, especially for next week. Against Kansas City, against Indianapolis the week after. So it's definitely looking up for Ryan Tannehill for sure. So he's somebody I'm going to hold on to. But without further ado, or without, I guess, continuing to make this podcast go on forever, although it's not, because it's only been about 30 minutes or so. But love you, appreciate you, and we will catch y'all tomorrow as we break down the game, well, part one of the week 6 game previews, right? So definitely tune in for that. And obviously on Saturday, you'll catch the part 2 along with starts of the week. And I guess I'm gonna play Get Money by myself. But it's cool. Again, built for this. Professional. All of that being said, everybody, again, we appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, and just continue to get this heat, man, because we're trying to win these chips. All right, everybody. Peace. We are.